Brett Allen here. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. We have a special guest. Jocko Sims is back again for another round for New Amsterdam. Thanks again for your time. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, Jocko.
Likewise, Brett. Thank you. Good to be with you.
Yeah. So the last time we spoke, what we're talking about today, this episode had been projected and discussed, and now here we are a couple seasons later with all of these different storylines unfolding. A big one specifically on the 22nd, the empty spaces. It's been such fun watching your character, Dr. Reynolds, progress, mature, change, all of these different things over the last few seasons since we spoke last. What is your perspective on him, just specifically and myopically, about how he has grown and changed from when we met him in season 1 to now as we're coming to the final season, sadly?
Yeah, I think, well, one way he's changed is he's definitely a little bit more open when it comes to relationships. He,
Yes.
Obviously he started out wanting a traditional family, ended up in something a bit more polyamorous. And not that that's what he's going to pursue here on out, but it opens him up a little bit now. Initially when he first meets Nurse Gabrielle, he's like, "You're a traveling nurse. I don't know about that." But she reminds him, hey, to have some fun. And again, because of what he's gone through, he's more open to doing something like that. It's against his original wishes for himself. So I think in that way he's changed. I think also having his father around, and particularly having his father have a mental illness, has softened him a little bit, I think, in a very good way. He's been more patient with his father after he was diagnosed with being bipolar. And he's, wanted to be there for him and supportive of him and loving to him, and is taking him into his home. And I like to see that side of Floyd. I think it's really nice on him. He can still be a jerk sometimes when he needs to, and when it's necessary for other things, as we see in these episodes. But when it comes to his father, he's softened a bit, and I love that.
Yes, I wanted to talk about that storyline in particular because that one I think was most surprising. Well, I mean, outside of the relationship thing, which is just, that's fun to watch him explore and navigate that. Like, as you said, wanting one thing for himself and then going like literally in the opposite direction altogether. But this specific storyline about finding his father and building that relationship, I think that attaches to fans in many different ways because a lot of us have maybe gone through that. So when you're looking at those types of storylines, I know in the past you've said you've spoken to the writers and said, this is kind of interesting. How do we go about this? But when you're dealing in that space of building that relationship, which has been broken and now has been restored, how do you get into the headspace with that and sort of deal with that when you're telling that part of the story? Because that's pretty deep and emotional to have to kind of build off of something like that, I would think.
Yeah, I never really think about how something we're doing can and will impact anyone at the time that I read it or when we are doing it. And then I'm reminded of it. Like now, Brett, when you said, hey, a lot of people might be going through this with their father. And I'm glad I don't think about that stuff because, it sort of take away the process from the process and we'd be focused on the wrong things and for that moment. But getting into that headspace, I have to give 90% of the credit to the writers because it's all there on the paper. I tend to be, as an actor, very good at being able to pick up what's off the page and understand, or at least get to the bottom of understanding what it is that the writers are intending with it.
Okay.
And operate in that space. Because I don't always understand immediately, but thank God we always have a writer on set who wrote the episode. They'll fly out from California, or worst case, we'll have them there on Zoom with us, and we figure it out. And once they walk us through it or we read it there off the page, we dive in. I also have to give credit to my scene partners. John Earl Chelks, who plays Horace, is just has the perfect balance, that duality of having manic episodes and being a soft, loving, caring father at the same time. And so it's easy to get in there. And I'm thankful for that as an artist, that it's not too much of a process. We can just get there, we read it, and it's a focus, and we're there in the moment. And I've been doing this now 20 years, 25 years, if I count the 5 years that I've studied theater. And once we're in it, we go, and we have so much fun. It's just been a blessing.
This show has just been so good. And I think everyone despises the day when we hear that a show is coming to an end. But I think all things happen how they're supposed to. I don't know, easier said than done coming from this side. But it is very unfortunate. We love the show. What has the vibe been amongst your castmates, the staff, the team, everybody that has put this together, as we are bringing such a fantastic show to an end, as so to speak?
We've had a plethora of emotions and feelings. We just came off of a pretty tough episode. I think some crew members are a little bit tired, and so we're very excited about this Thanksgiving break coming up. Yeah. But at the same time, gosh, it's really starting to hit us. It's really starting to hit us that we're wrapping it up, and it's bittersweet. And that, like I'm dreading this final table read we have coming up. I can almost get emotional thinking about doing that table read and what it's going to be like. I'm going to walk in there and be a complete mess. I know it. I've shed a tear or two at table reads in the past, just because it's and by the way, for 2 seasons we couldn't have them in person,
right?
So shout out to Don Scardino, our new producing director this year, who has made it a point for us to be there in person again, and it's just been great. But that energy in that room is just fantastic. So I'm looking forward to that, and we're happy. We're at a peace. It was a shock when we found out that we would be wrapping this show up, because Peter Horton started this show. He started Grey's Anatomy again. I mean, as well. I mean, that's going on for 19 years. So we were actually really afraid. We're like, okay, the last medical drama that Peter Horton started is still on the air.
I was going to say that was.
How long are we doing this forever? And we got our answer. And I think that the way this show is done, though, that it's important to kind of wrap it up. We really focus hard on this core group of characters, and we've never had more than 5 series regulars on this show. And if you're going to do it like that and not bring on other cast members and not focus on other parts of the hospitals and nurses and stuff, and you're just going to focus on these 5 doctors, then maybe this is the way to do that.
Wow, I love that. And that makes perfect sense when you say that out loud, because thinking back to all the seasons and watching this, that's the one thing that I do like, is that you have kept it centrally focused on a set of cast members. And not that it's bad. I mean, you've brought other people in for little arcs here and there, administrators or whatever the case might be, but you have kept things tight, and I could see how this story could naturally be brought to an end. I'm bummed. I'll be honest. I've enjoyed watching all of you. This has been a great show. And we had Tyler on a few months ago and got to talk to him, because at that time it hadn't been fully announced yet, but now we're here. So I'm excited for you and what's next. I'm sure, it's going to be amazing, just like this. And I think the fans will be satisfied with how you wrap it. I appreciate your time, Jocko. It's been a pleasure chatting with you over the seasons and getting to know you. And I appreciate your time and graciousness.
Brett, it's been so great to be with you. And I thank you for all the wonderful questions over the seasons you've asked. It's been fun. And hopefully on the next thing I do, I'll get to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Go NBC. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
absolutely. Take care, everybody.